Hi viewers, I am K.S. Vanaja, working as an assistant professor of English in Government First Grade College, Kunigal. In this video, we shall learn about George Herbert, the one who has written the poem The Pulley, which is prescribed for the third semester BA, BSc, BFA and BBA students of Tumkur University. The session is 9. Introduction to the poet George Herbert, 1593 to 1633. George Herbert was a Welsh-born poet, orator, and a parish priest in Wiltshire. His poetry belongs to the school of metaphysical poetry. He is ranked with John Donne as one of the great metaphysical poets. The term metaphysical simply means beyond the physical, and metaphysical poems treat subjects or give answers to questions that are beyond the physical. Metaphysical poetry flourished in England in the 17th century, a period characterized with religious activities. Due to the fact that society influences literature, poets who wrote during that period were not only secular but also religious, as most of their works allude to some biblical stories. With John Donne being the originator of metaphysical poetry, other metaphysical poets include Andrew Marvell, George Herbert, Richard Crashaw, and Henry Vaughan. The metaphysical poems are witty, that is, they are full of wits. The metaphysical poets are very clever and intelligent, and such intelligence is showcased in their poems as they are fond of explaining bulky subjects in few lines. George Herbert, he wrote religious poems with a lot of imagery and conceits, and some of them are used as hymns. George Herbert's poems have been characterized by a deep religious devotion, linguistic precision, and ingenious use of conceit. He died of consumption in 1633 at the age of 14. George Herbert is known today for writing in English, Latin, and Greek. It was in 1624 that Herbert became the Member of Parliament representing Montgomery. He gained favor with King James I. Herbert's short career in Parliament was over, but he quickly moved from politics to the church. George Herbert was a very religious man whose poetry was not appreciated until long after his death, and he wrote for everyday people as well as for the clergy to whom he offered advice. George Herbert was notably influenced by religious writers and thinkers as well as Shakespeare and Milton. His work eventually influenced other well-known poets such as Henry Vaughan, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and even Emily Dickinson. George Herbert has written many poems. Some of his notable poems are The Eastern Wings, The Caller, The Flea, The Pearl, A Wreath, The Pulley, Discipline, The Flower, A Valediction Forbidding, Church Monuments, The Temple, etc. In The Pulley, George Herbert creates a myth about God's creation of the world. It is a 20-line spiritual fable borrowed from the myth of Pandora's box and the book of Genesis. The poem exhibits a strange but two-way relationship between God and his worshippers. This poem is about a human soul which is compared to a pulley. A pulley is a wheel or a set of wheels over which a rope or a chain is pulled in order to lift or lower a heavy object. The title of the poem, The Pulley, is a conceit that it carries the theme of the poem. In pulley, from the mechanical point of view, to operate it, a kind of power and force has to be applied on one end to lift the object on the other. The force applied makes a difference to the weight that is being lifted. The rest that God keeps with him is the leverage that draws the mankind towards him. God uses a pulley to lift the man towards him, and he makes his devotee. And two different objects are forcibly compared here. One from the pure physics, that is pulley, and the other from the pure religion, that is God. The relationship of man and the God is compared with a metaphorical pulley. And to pull mankind back to God, back to his origin, God keeps man away from the rest. This can only be possible in the metaphysical conceits. So the title is thematic. George Herbert has used many figures of speech such as metaphor, alliterations, inversions, paradox, synecdoche, and pun in this poem. Let us analyze the poem in detail in the next video. Thank you.